Hello, everyone. I'm real excited today. Today, I've invited my followers on Facebook, and I'm broadcasting to YouTube. So we are adding a few extra comments into the conversation today, as well. Of course, this is meant for LinkedIn primarily. So thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Huntley. I am the host and producer of the Public Health Epidemiology Careers podcast. And that is we have a brand new episode every single week, which I'm proud to let you know that we are over 200 episodes and still going. So I'm excited about that. But that's not what we're talking about today. I just have to introduce myself properly because some of you may be tuning in for the very first time, and some of you may be with me returning. I say always, almost every Wednesday at noon Eastern time. So, right at this hour, I go live on LinkedIn and I only hang out for about 30 minutes or less because I don't want to be a major interruption in your day, but I really raise topics of interest that are happening around my community. So today, the topic is going to be centered on common challenges to getting started with public health consulting. This is because I know it's on so many minds. So many people are thinking about consulting, and there are so many challenges that hinder you from actually getting started. So I have an upcoming program where I help people get started in consulting. And I sent an email out to my community and asked the question. I just wanted to know, what is the one biggest challenge? What is the one thing that's preventing you from getting started? And I got a lot of responses, and no real surprise because I've been working in this area helping people get started and growing their businesses for a long time. But I wanted to just make sure, I'm big on communicating with my community, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. So today, during this time that we have together, I'm going to share with you some of those responses because I want you to know, because a lot of you are thinking the same thing and you think you're the only one. So as I go through some of these responses, a lot of you are going to realize that it's not just you, and it may provide a little bit of reassurance as you walk around with these thoughts in your mind. So that is the plan for today. Let me hop over in the comments here, because what I also want you to do is let me know where you're joining from, because I really like that. I love to go back, even if you're watching the replay, still let me know where you're joining from. I will go back in the comments. I look through them, I respond, and I just think it's really interesting to see just where we're all connected from. I'm in South Carolina, so that's in the southeastern part of the United States, and I'm often joined by people from around the world. In the UK, I realize this is late in the day for you, and in the West Coast, you may be still having your coffee. So let me know where you're joining from. And like I said, since I'm adding the other platforms, we may have some folks that are joining from the other platforms as well. But it's still fine if you don't want to chime in on the comments, that's okay. But just do that, please, if you feel so inclined. Hello, we have Tanika, and I may be mispronouncing. I hope I have that right. Tanika, thank you for joining us from California. And hello, Sylvie from Utah. That's really nice. I hear that Utah is really, really pretty. I have not actually been to Utah yet. And we have Anais. Anais. Thank you for joining from Texas. I love Texas. Thank you all. So just add the comments. Even I'm going to keep going, but just add them because, like I said, I'll go back and I will comment or respond to you in the comments. So let's see. Let me jump here to my little notes because I want you to, let me tell you this up front. Here is the website. So if you are not familiar with my podcast, you can search for it through any of the apps. It's in all the apps. But the easiest way for you to connect is to go to my website, and I put it on the screen, drchuntley.com. On the very home page, there's a button that just says subscribe or click to subscribe. So click there, subscribe to the podcast. Well, I'll send you something really cool about episodes regarding epidemiologists and so forth. But the real reason I really want you to jump into it today is because of the topic we're covering right now. I'm also, this is really sort of a part one. I'm going to share with you some of the responses, some of the big challenges that people are facing with trying to get started with consulting. But I'm also going to follow up with a second video tomorrow, a third video on Friday, sharing a lot of information, and then the opportunity to join this next cohort, which will start 2 weeks from today, actually. Yes, 2 weeks from today, or actually 2 weeks from yesterday. Okay, but in 2 weeks, the next cohort will get started. And that's where I help those who want to actually start consulting, go through some of these obstacles. So the reason I want you to jump in, if you're interested in this topic, you can hang out today. I'm going to share with you some of these responses, but you may also be interested in the follow-up video that I'll share tomorrow and on Friday, but I'm only sharing it to my community through email. So if you subscribe right now, if you go to my website and subscribe on the homepage, then you'll be sure to get in the loop and receive those emails. So just wanted to make sure that you had that. That's the fastest way to stay connected with the information I'm sharing right now about consulting. It's an ongoing topic. So I'm always talking about it because people always have questions. And this is something that I'm very passionate about helping build capacity in this way, helping those who want to start consulting actually start, because there is such an incredible need. So if I can help you get over these obstacles, then that's what I'm here for. All right. So what I'm going to do to make it the easiest thing is to simply share my screen with you, because I'm going to go through some of these comments. And depending on what device you're viewing, you may or may not be able to actually see this, but I'm still going to have it there on the screen so that people that are joining in and out can see that. So these are, again, I sent out an email to my community and I asked, what is, if you're interested in getting started in consulting, what is the biggest challenge that is holding you back? What's preventing you from getting started? What is your biggest challenge to getting started? So I, of course, don't have any names included, but I simply took their responses, as many as I thought I could cover. And I'm going to try to cover these in my timeline here while I'm live. And I prepared this like quick little slide to go through some of these. So this is one, not in any particular order. Okay, so I've been thinking about consulting lately. However, I do not know where to begin and how to obtain clientele and contracts. This is such a common question. These two challenges are common. How do I get started? Where do I find clients? If any of you have been a part of my public health consulting and entrepreneurship expo, we had a roundtable discussion in the expo. So that's one of the modules in the expo. And we talked about this in a small group setting. So that was a live recording that's included as a part of the expo. And then I recently had summer camp, which was a bonus feature of the expo, where I took each of these and broke it down. And we really talked about it in depth, because it is an ongoing challenge, not just for getting started, but even once you get started, that's something you're always working to. Where are my clients? What problems am I solving? How am I helping? So with getting started, it can be very scary. Where to start? Where do I begin? That is on everyone's mind. And it's very challenging because there aren't like where do you find the answers? It's not like an instruction manual for exactly getting started. But I've been able to help so many people overcome this. But again, I'm bringing these up. I'm sharing these because I want you to understand, those of you that are watching this and have been thinking about it, maybe you didn't submit a response, but you've been thinking about it. When it's just in your head and you're thinking about it, you feel like you're the only one. It's just unique to you. So I'm going to go through some more of these, but this is very common. Where to begin? How do I find my clients? And, how do I figure out the whole contracting thing? So that's very common. Here's another one. Biggest challenge: making the jump to full-time consultant, earning enough per customer to sustain my necessary income. So revenue questions, I underline that one because that should be on your mind when starting consulting, because this is, you're building a business. We need to generate revenue to sustain the business and to grow, right? Also, again, making the jump from full-time to full-time consulting. So this person may have already started and they're wanting to get to that point where they can, move from part-time to full-time or consulting on the side to that being the full-time business. That's another common challenge once you get started. Then if you want to scale that up, how do I grow this thing? How do I grow it? How do I scale up? How do I get to that point? So this may be coming from someone who's looking at I've started, but how do I grow? But this also could be someone thinking about getting started. So they want to get started, but they want to know, how am I going to build this into something that I can actually, that can sustain me? And that's a very legitimate question when you get started. So this is another thing. How do I start this thing and how do I turn it into something that can really help me grow? Right? Great question. It's a challenge, and it could be the thing that's got you, you're just like turning this over in your mind, and it can be a bit frustrating, I get it, and a little challenging, but, that's okay. Just knowing that this is something that's really common, but something I help a lot of people with, is sometimes good to know that you're not just the only one, right? Here's another one. How to get started, where to find clients. I literally copied these out of the emails and put them into these different slides because I want you to see how often this is repeated. How do I get started? Where do I find clients? Common, common, common questions. We address those and when I work with clients to get training, but I again want you to see how common this comes up, how often this comes up. Another one. My biggest challenge with starting consulting is that I don't know where to start. I don't have clients, and I'm not even sure where to find the first one. I love this email. I love this underlined, don't have clients, not sure how to get the first one. I underline that because in my training that I go through, I cover these things. I work with clients so often, and we start with a lot of the basic foundational things that really help you to, first of all, take a deep breath, kind of exhale, and then start to dissect this in terms of getting started. I help you gain that clarity. It's so vital. And gaining that clarity first. And then we start pivoting to some of the other things because they're much easier to address after we gain clarity at the very beginning. But getting started is difficult. It's the thing that can keep people right where they are. And I don't want people to stay right where they are. If you have an idea, if you have the inkling, you have, this thing that's in you that's saying, I want to do consulting, then it should be pursued. So I try to diffuse these issues and really address these challenges. So again, right from the email, my biggest challenge with starting consulting is that I don't know where to start. Very, very common. Here's another one. My number one biggest challenge is where to start. It's like, how many times do we say, how many ways can we say, how do I get started? And how to narrow down what I will consult in. I love this one. Narrowing it down often comes up because that can be the thing that prevents you from getting started. We are often have multiple interests, right? As public health professionals, because the field is so broad. And then also, if you have any sort of entrepreneurial anything in you, then you never have a shortage of great ideas. You're often interested in multiple different things. So I want you to know that you're not alone. It's very common, and we address that. But it's not as complicated as you may think it is. It feels overwhelming because of all the different things and all the possibilities. But in the next video, I'm actually going to break it down more clearly into what you need to do to start. So that's another reason why, again, if you just happen to join in on this, go to my website, which is still on the screen, and click to subscribe so that you get on my email list so that when I send the follow-up video tomorrow, you'll be able to receive that because I talk about what to do to get started. But I really, right now, I'm focusing on these challenges that I receive, these emails that I receive, because I want you to know that you're not alone. This comes up a lot. And then the end of this, end of this question, or in the email, she says, do I do a podcast, blog, social media, etc.? Because, when we see what other people are doing, we see all the things, and without knowing the strategy behind that, is difficult to recreate. And it's so unique. Every business is different. Every model is different just because, that's how it is. Every focus is different. So this challenge of where to start and how to narrow things down and then what to do when you see all the things. I mean, if you look at me, I have a podcast, I have a website, and it's got the show notes, which is essentially a blog. And then you see all the social media platforms, and you think, okay, well, if I get started, I need to be in all the places. Nope, don't do that. Stress yourself out. That's not how we do it. You it's just too much. So some people will jump out there and try to do all the things and they get overwhelmed. And then some people just never get started because it's overwhelming. You don't know how to figure it all out. So, where to start, what to do first, what to do next. So these are great questions. And these are great, they're valid challenges. It's not just like, oh, this is just me. Other people can figure this out. And this is just me. I'm stuck right here. I can't do it. No, I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to know that these are common challenges, that we all overcome in trying to get started because either we stay stuck and we never get started, these challenges prohibit us from starting, or we eventually overcome them and get started and start, kind of moving forward. So I wanted you all to know that how common some of these things are. Here's another one. My number one biggest challenge to getting started with public health consulting has been how to narrow down what I need to focus on getting started, as well as what makes what I'm wanting to do different from what's already out there. Okay, the reason I like this one and the reason I included this one is because of the second part of this part that I'm highlighting. That is the reason I included this one. So, of course, the first part of that, how to narrow down what I need to focus on, is again, getting started. How do I get started? How do I narrow down my ideas? Which, we've been hearing a lot of that. But then the second part of that is, wanting to do what's different from what's already out there. I challenge you with this and have you think, why does it need to be different from what's already out there? And the reason I ask that question is depending on what, you want to do, but why does it need to be different? If you think about another industry, and for some reason, is my example of the week. It's been coming up in a lot of my conversations. So if you think about automobiles, like there's a need for transportation. So we have trains, we have, all these different options for transportation, right? Bikes and all the things. And then someone created automobiles, right? So then we have all these different industries, all these different manufacturers that create different types of automobiles. So yes, we have automobiles, right? And then we'll have multiple different companies creating them. And for years and years and years, we've had these handful of companies, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Nissan, all the cars, right? And then you think, well, you could stop and say, well, that's enough. We have enough variety there. I need to create, I need to create something different, right? So it's not that you need to create a completely different car, like a car. There's a car is a car, right? An automobile. The different manufacturers are creating their spin on a car. So you've got more luxury models, you've got the electric models, you've got the typical fuel models, like, then there's Tesla was born, right? So we've got these different manufacturers creating different types of cars, but they're still cars. The purpose is to get them there. So when you think about what's already, how do I want to do something it's already out there, I can't do it. Don't think, okay, well, cars are out there, I can't create a car. Maybe think about what's unique about your car that you want to present. So if we bring that back to public health, you can think about grant writers. So there are people who are consultants and they're grant writers. There are so many grant writers who are consultants out there, right? Does that mean that we don't need any more grant writers? I think not. Even if, the best grant writers are booked solid, there's only so much they get to capacity. So there's always a need for more. That's not going to go away. And if that is your passion, that's what you want to do, then why not get into that field? There's plenty, there's an abundance. I don't think that when it comes to consulting, it needs to be presented in a way that I need to do something different from what's already out there. That's sort of like how we approach literature, right? Or research. When it comes to consulting, I think that you need to find, that whatever you decide to do, it doesn't matter if, in fact, flip it around. The fact that so many other consultants are doing that almost already validates that it's a need. There's a need for it. So it's already validated. I think that when you show up to do the very same thing, if we stick with grant writing, for example, then the way you approach grant writing is unique. Your perspective already makes it unique. So I feel like I'm really preaching here. But the point I want to make is that show up in an era, even if it's already being done, look at that as it's validated. But I can almost guarantee you that whoever is already doing it cannot serve everyone, cannot serve all populations. So you showing up with your unique perspective will target whoever you're intended to target. So let me know in the comments if that is making sense to you. I feel like I'm very preachy right now, but that is really the reason I added this particular one to the slides, because I wanted you to know that you don't look at having to find something so unique as in the way we approach research, but really think of it as the fact that if it's someone's already doing it, that validates that there's an interest, but you can bring your unique perspective. When I was podcasting about careers, and in the way that I was podcasting for public health, the way I approached my topic was very different from the topics in the podcasts in public health. Since I've started, there's so many other podcasts that have come out in public health that are more conversational and very relatable, and it's wonderful. So many people have let me know that they were inspired by my podcast to start their own podcast in public health. I think that's wonderful, and I think that all of those different podcasts represent a different perspective and a different focus in the audience and a different niche and group. And so all these different perspectives is what really enriches the whole experience, and it gives options to the audience, and we can serve better in this way. So you don't have to be the only one doing the thing that you're doing. Your perspective is unique. And that makes you unique all by itself. Okay, I guess I will stop preaching on that and keep going. All right, so let me go back to my notes here. So let's see what we have here. We have timing is pretty good. Let's share a couple more. Okay, this is another one. It says, I have no idea where to start, again, getting started, and I'm unsure if my MPH is enough to be a public health consultant. So again, there's that whole thing of where to get started. Very common. We've seen a lot of those. In fact, I think it came up certainly in all the ones that I've selected for the slides. But if I think back to the emails that I've received, I think it came up in all of the emails. The other part of that is the second part of this is why I added the slide into today's live. And that is because she said, if my MPH is enough. This is also something that comes up. This is where we shift into like what our thoughts and a little bit of maybe a lack of confidence here, because I think the fact that you have an MPH is phenomenal. So the fact that you've completed your master's of public health prepares you for so much. And if you're thinking about consulting, then you already know that you have some strengths, some qualities, skill set that you want to bring to the table. You know there's something more that you want to offer and something that you can do. I think the fact that you question your MPH being enough is just kind of signifying the lack of confidence in what you bring, a little bit of fear, which is perfectly fine and perfectly normal. And it's okay. We can overcome that. We can work through that. But don't think that there needs to be a certain, criteria, some level of credentials. The fact that you have completed the education and the degree, and the fact that you're thinking about this means that you have some skill set, something that you believe is valuable and that can be helpful in consulting, and you just need to validate that. So don't underestimate what you bring to this consulting world, this opportunity, and don't underestimate the value that your client will see in that. So if you're thinking about it, then 9 times out of 10, you are qualified and you do have something to offer, because otherwise you wouldn't really be thinking about it right now. You'd be thinking, okay, one day I want to do that, but I need to gain this. But the fact that you're just, unsure, I wouldn't just let that eliminate you all by itself. I've seen some phenomenal change makers in the arena of public health who did not have a master's degree in public health. So that doesn't mean that, don't let that be your gauge. So I'll leave that right there. In fact, I've had a few of them on my podcast that have done tremendous work in public health and did not have a master's degree in public health or even an undergraduate degree in public health. It was in something completely different. But pure heart, passion, skill, and understanding of public health, they've been able to do tremendous things. So just let that marinate for a moment. That can't be the sole indicator there. So that is the reason I brought that one in. And then I have one more I'll share with you. And this was from an overachiever who responded with a list of challenges. And I laughed because I did ask for your one biggest challenge, and I've got this list. But the reason I included it is because I address so much of this. So these are common too. Let me just kind of go through them without taking up too much time. We've got just a couple of minutes, but carving out a time of busy schedule to develop their public health consulting business. So PHT is PHC, standing for public health consulting business. So carving out enough time from the busy schedule to develop that's legitimate. Developing the confidence to launch their business. That is really common too. I've touched on it a few times. That confidence to launch it's a huge deal. Acquiring the funds for the startup. Now there is some investment always involved in getting started, but sometimes we can think it has to be much more significant than it actually needs to be just to get started. So that is something that needs to be addressed kind of by itself. But I included this, like I said, for this reason. Locating stakeholders who share my vision. That's great because the stakeholders don't necessarily mean they need to partner with you up front. Your stakeholders could be a part of the community that you attract. So your vision is your vision. If you have that vision, it's intended for someone else. It's about being clear in your messaging so that you attract the people that will resonate with what you have to share and talk about. So that's what you get clear about that vision, and then you just get tunnel vision in a sense, and you start connecting with people that are clear. The people that don't align with what you care about and don't resonate with your message are not going to be attracted to you. And that's perfectly fine. In fact, that's wonderful. That's what you want. You only want the people in the community that you grow to be aligned and interested in the thing that you are talking about and sharing anyway. Crafting a viable plan, monetizing public health consulting business plan, and in advertising services. All of these things are much easier once you've gotten clarity on these very foundational things. So they're very valid, and altogether they can be extremely overwhelming and can almost paralyze you. You can be very clear on all these things that are preventing you from getting started or advancing, but not really know what to do about it. And so that's why I wanted to share some of these with you during this time that we're live, and we're kind of wrapping up the time. I knew it would really push me at my 30-minute mark. But again, join me. Go to my website, drchuntley.com. If you're not already receiving emails from me, make sure that you click the subscribe button on the homepage so that you get on my email list, because I'm going to be sending out a video tomorrow, and it's only going to go to my email list. And tomorrow's video is really just going to break down what needs to happen to get started. And you'll understand from all the challenges that I've talked about today and some of these common challenges that I've gone over. When I talk about what needs to happen to get started, you'll start to see how that clicks and why that makes sense. And so I'm hoping that this will kind of help you put things into perspective a bit, kind of settle down a little bit in terms of the anxiety and the stress and the overwhelm of getting started, and then kind of go from there. And then there'll be a third video on Friday that will just kind of wrap it up a bit in a bow. And then you'll know, my goal is that you'll know by the time you get to next week and there's an opportunity to work with me, you'll know whether or not that's something you want to do, or maybe you'll learn enough from all of this that you can just take off and be able to kind of go with getting started on your own. So that is my goal for you all. And looking at the comments really quickly, thank you all for joining. I see Georgia and Tampa, Florida. Thank you. Thank you. Phoenix, Arizona. This is wonderful. I'm going to wrap up now because, like I said, I try my best to keep it 30 minutes. And now I'm looking at my clock and I've gone officially over 30 minutes. That's my own stressor I added there. My goal really is just to not take too much of your time. So thank you for joining me live. Thank you for watching the replay. I hope this has been helpful. Now that you're on my email list, then watch out for the email Thursday and Friday that kind of wrap this all up. And if you happen to watch this at a much later date, no worries. I'll just put you into the cycle for the next time I have this opportunity. So thank you for joining me. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.